Uh, Oh my goodness, I was not ready. Sorry, my nose is itchy now. Wow. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of the Open Mat Show, where white fans talk like hated that intro. This is the issue with live shows. I can't redo my intro that I want to do. Let me try one more time. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. This is the world's very first live call-in combat sports show, the Open Mat Show. As you can see clearly, my name is Matt. I'm your host, and thank you for joining us as we delve into this wacky, wonderful world of combat sports and its fans. Because if you're watching this, you're probably very well aware this is a very fun sport to get into. And I'm not going to waste any time. We have a fair amount of stuff to kind of get into today before we get into the calls and stuff, which if we'll have to see if we have any. If you want to call in, make sure to join via the Discord link down below. Um, if for whatever reason that doesn't work, I was getting 50-50 on whether it worked or not. Comment down below or comment in the live chat. I'll try to fix it or put in a new link in the chat. Um, but yeah, before we do that, I just want to kind of ramble about a handful of things. A lot of things kind of happened within the last few days. Uh, Technically, this isn't our first episode. First off, let me get that off my chest. The real fans, the OGs, know that our real first episode was actually a week ago, last Wednesday, episode 0, as I like to call it. It was very impromptu. I didn't have this little overlay thing I had. I used a very rudimentary green screen, as I'll call it. And we kind of just rambled about what I thought was going to happen for the year and all that. And we'll be doing a lot of that today as well. But if you're interested in that, go check that out. Humble Beginnings. But this is the main first episode. Uh, this is the start of something great. I'm really excited to get into it. But anyways, the first thing I want to discuss, I would say probably the biggest story in all of combat sports, MMA, I guess I should say, is the Michael Morales undefeated record slash tapology issue. For those of you who don't know what happened, if you've been living under a fucking rock, what had happened was Tapology came out saying that they discovered a series of fights from Michael Morales very early on in his career. And one of them involved him getting choked unconscious within the first minute of the first round. The footage is out there. I'm not going to play it here. I don't want to get copyright struck down, but if you look it up, Michael Morales choked out, you'll find it. It's not a good look, but we'll get to that. Uh, obviously, uh, that's a clear loss. So Tapology updated his record appropriately, accordingly. That left a lot of people in an uproar. A lot of people are like, what the hell? How can you just kind of come out here and take this loss or take his undefeated record away? Yada, yada, yada. But it is what it is, right? If he lost, if he got choked out, it's kind of weird that nobody knew about that until now, but it is what it is. Come to find out, that turns out this fight happened on some Ecuadorian tough type show. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Shit, I had the name here. I'm not gonna look it up, but pretty much it was another foreign tough like show. And as we know with tough, those aren't professional fights; those are amateur bouts. So the league itself came out, speaking out against Tapology, saying, "Hey, these were 2-round fights. These were amateur fights over here. Why are you guys considering this a professional bout?" So I would say about what was it, like 14 to 24 hours later, Tapology came back out with an apology tweet saying that they corrected their mistake and Michael Morales is now undefeated again. Uh, Very short and sweet, I guess. It was a funky situation. I can't remember when that's happened last. And it brings up a lot of good questions. Uh, Khabib's record. Now, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this because I haven't confirmed it myself fully, but I guess a good amount of Khabib's opponents were only 2 rounders. So hypothetically, per Tapology's criteria, if they were to add these and then remove them because they were only 2 rounders, uh, Oh crap! Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen. If that's the case, they could remove a lot of Khabib's wins, which would make him 16-0. He would still be undefeated, but it's not at 29-0. Obviously, I'm being a little cheeky here. I don't support that. But if you're gonna enforce these rules, enforce it consistently. I digress. I don't really care about the undefeated record. That's bullshit, right? It doesn't really mean anything. Islam Makhachev is probably the greatest 155er of all time, even above Khabib, yet he's been knocked out before. Anybody could lose early on, which is kind of ironic considering on what I'm about to say. If you go and watch Michael Morales get subbed in, not even subbed, put unconscious in the first minute, um, I'm sorry, he's not beating Islam Makhachev. Uh, Like there's if that happened to you on the ground, yeah, it was early on in his career and all that. You're not beating Islam Makhachev. That is just the truth. It's not going to happen. Um, yeah, you need a way better ground game than that. And yeah, yeah, there's a big argument. Well, Islam lost early in his career. He got knocked out by uh whatever the fucking dude's name was. Was it Martin? Adriano Martin? I don't know. He got knocked out by nobody. And look how good he became. So we can't really hold uh we it's not fair that we don't hold Islam to that same standard. Well, my argument to that is, yeah, that's Islam fucking Makhachev, possibly the greatest fighter of all time in general. I doubt that. I think in time we'll see better, but for right now, at least with active fighters, it's probably him or unfortunately Hamzat. Um, so I you can't compare Michael Morales to that. I don't. Michael Morales is good. He's a fucking physical freak, but knocking out Sean Brady, who is significantly smaller than you, doesn't put you up there as an Islam world beater. Um, and the one thing that like really gave people hope, in my opinion, for Michael Morales beating Islam was, yeah, he has knockout power and he's a lot bigger, but he has a judo background. That's what I kept hearing. He's a judo background, judo background. And then we see this. He got subbed in the first round in the first minute. And not just subbed, he got put unconscious. So that this might be silly for me to say, but if we're comparing this to Islam's fluke KO early on in his career, I feel like it's easier and more understandable to be caught by a random winging overhand right than it is to be choked unconscious accidentally, than it is to be caught in a submission, I should say. Uh, I know I'm not a pro fighter here. I've dabbled in a little bit of training here and there, mainly boxing stuff. But it's anybody could kind of throw that overhand. You don't got to be a striker for that. But for the grappling stuff, you really got to be incompetent to throw yourself into a submission the way Michael Morales did, especially. Uh, yeah, especially it wasn't that long ago. It was 9 years ago. Yeah, damn. Actually, never mind. Ignore what I just said. I was gonna say it wasn't that long ago. It happened in 2017. That's damn near a decade ago. That's my bad. I didn't forget that. Forget I was talking about that. Um, but yeah, pretty much what I'm saying is I just don't think that he has what it takes to beat Islam at all. I never did in the first place. I'm sorry. I never did. But after seeing that, yeah, no shot. Excuse me. Excuse me. Let me fix my hair. I'm a fucked up hair. Had to take a sip of water. Sorry. But yeah, that was, I feel like, was the biggest story of the week pretty much. It's only Wednesday, we're only halfway through the week, so more stuff might come out. But it's been pretty boring. I'm sure you guys have been bored without any MMA, without any UFC. I've been rewatching a lot of stuff on Paramount. I'm actually planning on a new series. Hopefully they add the entirety of the UFC catalog because I would love to watch and review all of the UFC events, starting from UFC 1 to where we're at now. Obviously, that would be a lot of time watching, But I wouldn't mind doing that. I really need to go back and watch all of those. I feel like every fan should do that. So, anyways, I digress. Some other news that kind of came out: Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler happening at the White House. Yes, no. Uh, if it weren't for like the history of what Connor's been doing, you know, him pulling out against Chandler, him just kind of hinting he's going to come back, and then nothing really coming of it. I would say I feel confident about it. Chandler, of course, as he always does, did an interview saying, "Oh, we're getting closer to it than we ever have." Oh, you can't take his fucking word for it. Uh, he believes anything, right? Like a good boy, as they say. But Connor, he did his ayahuasca trip, whatever it was, where he said he came back a new, born again Christian or something like that. The whole shtick. Um, I feel like once he did that, that was kind of his soft launch either into politics or one last fight at the White House, and maybe both. Actually, you could say both, because I saw he also did some weird, like, it wasn't weird, it's cool, I guess, but like he sat next to a homeless guy, and Joe Rogan once was talking to me when I was sitting down like this on the ground, and I got back up. Uh, so maybe he really is angling for the political run, whatever. Uh, Even if that is the case, I do think that he actually does want to come and fight at the White House. He does seem kind of genuine on it. If he doesn't come for the White House, then what will bring him back, right? That's kind of my logic. So I actually do think that he is going to come out and pop out at the White House. But like I said, it's really hard to trust it because of kind of the history of what he's been doing, saying he will and then not showing up, which, what is that? The only time he's ever done that in his career. But just all the times he's been tweeting, the live streams where he's calling out Top Toro and Usman and all them. It's just really hard to take anything he says serious when it comes to actually fighting. And unfortunately, that's even rubbed off on Michael Chandler. When it comes to Conor McGregor, you can't believe a fucking word of what Michael Chandler says because he clearly believes anything that he's told. Um, I mean, yeah. Uh, if that fight were to happen, you know what, guys? I think Conor McGregor fucking chins Michael Chandler. Yeah, I know McGregor's washed and he hasn't fought in so long and all that. Drug addict. Yes, I'm well aware. But Chandler's chinny as shit. He always, even in his prime, he always gets caught with the left hook, uh, the left hand. It just so happens that's McGregor's specialty with his cannonball shoulders, his meaty shots. Um, I just really don't see a world where Chandler avoids that left hook, that left punch from McGregor for the entirety of a round, I should say. So if they were to fight, I actually fully see it being very similar to the Oliveira Chandler finish in their first fight. It's like, they go for Chandler bounces in for an exchange. As he's bouncing out, Connor catches him with the left, and then, Chandler drops, goes against a cage. Connor tracks him down and gets the finish there. Fucking Tony Ferguson dropped Michael Chandler with a left. Yeah, that wasn't. You could argue Tony really became old man Tony after that Chandler fight, not before, because we all know how that fight ended. Poor Tony. But still, that was a pretty washed Tony up to that point, and that was still a pretty solid Chandler, all things considered. So he's just McGregor is like his kryptonite. It doesn't matter how long Chandler trains for. Um, Chandler shouldn't have taken all that time off. I don't know. I just think Conor McGregor will chin him if they were to fight. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody actually thinks Chandler would win that fight. I used to think Chandler would. Then I really thought about it. Like I said, Chandler always gets hit with the left, and that's what's McGregor's specialty. So I really do think that I do think that fight is going to happen at the White House. And if it doesn't, Connor's done. We'll never see him again. Dare I say, Chandler might even be done. I don't know. I think we'll see him fight one more time if this Connor fight doesn't happen. But yeah, going for broke for Connor. You could say the same thing about John Jones, possibly. Um, because I know he wants to come and fight Alex at the White House. But Alex came out and tweeted saying that wouldn't happen, which this is old news. This happened like a few weeks ago. So it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what's next for John Jones, and actually, it kind of makes me wonder what's next for Alex Pereira and the light heavyweight division. Uh, Actually, we kind of do know what's going on. Yuri Prowaska recently came out to dispel some rumors talking about him versus Carlos Solberg. Now, per Ariel Helwani, at least this is where I heard it on his show. You guys should check it out. It's very, very good stuff. He played a clip where, and he himself mentioned that I guess they were originally targeting Yuri versus Olberg for April, but uh, it, Yuri's expecting a baby around that time. I believe a daughter, his first baby. Congrats to Yuri. So he wants it earlier than that. We don't know if Olberg will be able to, but that I feel like pretty much confirms uh, that Pereira is going to be going to heavyweight because Goldberg should have been next for Pereira. He was the clear guy. Or Yuri. Those are the guys they showed on camera when Pereira knocked out Ankalaev. So the fact that they're even considering putting those two against each other, and even if there's any mention of an interim, it makes you obviously wonder why do we need an interim? Pereira isn't injured, is he? Or maybe yeah, maybe he is, but realistically, I think he's going up to heavyweight. That kind of does beg the question too. If it's not against John Jones, who is he gonna fight? Uh, there's a good point. He could do a Silva, just move up and kind of fight some bum. But Pereira is too big of a star, in my opinion, to put him up against a fucking Derek Lewis or something, right? If he moves up, he has to fight the guy, the champion, no matter who it is, whether that be Tom Aspinall or Cyril Gahn. Because quite frankly, we need some resolution to that. I don't care. I don't want Pereira to slot in somewhere in between these guys. I want to see Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gahn settle it because it was looking good for Gahn. The whole eye poke thing. We haven't seen Tom properly face adversity. So I was I really do want to see that fight. That's one that I think the UFC should prioritize. But with Alex, a very, I would say, actually, I would say the most popular champion in the UFC right now, easily without any doubt. Um, you're not going to leave him on the sidelines, right? Because Tom and Surreal, it wasn't that big of a fight. That's pretty well talked about. There wasn't a lot of pay per view sold on it. And to be fair, right, it was in, what was it, an Abu Dhabi card. So it did happen in the middle of the day, and that's never good, especially what was it the last pay-per-view of the year? I don't think it was. Um, but one of the later pay-per-views of the year, that's never good, especially when you announce that no more pay-per-views are coming in the piracy era. It it was a perfect storm against them, but still, even on paper, it wasn't that popular of a fight. A lot of the casuals, a lot of my buddies that aren't really into the UFC didn't even know that fight happened until afterwards because of the whole eye poke thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they want to slot Alex in there because maybe they'll look at it as Surreal fucked up his chance by being a dirty motherfucker because he always does dirty moves in his fights. But I don't know. I personally would much rather see Tom Aspinall versus Surreal Gone. I need some resolution to that, and I think Gone beats him. I do. Uh, Something else I would like to kind of talk about before I get into quote unquote calls. I don't think I'll have anybody calling, but I do have some hot takes to go over that I kind of gathered around the internet that will go over in lieu of calls. But something I want to talk about is the NCAA payouts and how much that will affect UFC recruiting. Daniel Cormier kind of touched on it, but pretty much, as I'm sure most of you know, college athletes can get paid now. It used to be illegal, although if we're being real, we know that didn't stop anybody. Well, I'm sure it stopped a few people actually, but now you can college athletes can legally get paid for sponsorships, take money from coaches. I think I'm not 100% sure on the laws there, but if they could take sponsorships, then we know uh, the business is the business. There's ways around certain things. That's all you need just to get your foot in the door. Um, so Daniel Cormier kind of brought up a good point. At least for MMA in America, uh, a lot of the athletes that are wrestlers, right? Especially in the smaller weight classes, once they graduate college and finish their collegiate athletic career, they don't really have much else to do, especially if they were like a mid-level D1 wrestler, very high level, very good, but not enough to be, no teams, no colleges are clamoring for a coaching spot or anything like that. They didn't really make too big of a name for themselves, no sponsorships, nothing like that. But they were solid. They have skill, they have grit. They're still a young guy. They didn't really learn any real skill other than wrestling in college, and they need money. They didn't make any money in college either. So it's either get to work or go into this sport that kind of incorporates wrestling. I hear wrestlers do really good in it, called MMA, uh, for some bucks. That's not the case anymore. You have a lot of these wrestlers; they're making some good money. Um, Wrestling is big. A lot of people don't understand how big wrestling really is, especially collegiate wrestling. And the people that back it, they back it. The alumni networks, people put money into these programs, right? And because of that, a lot of athletes that normally would be graduating, normally would have nowhere else to go and uh, end up joining the UFC, they're making some good money. Cormier said six figures, things like that. Fuck that. Those are the high level guys, right? They take out the six figures. Say these guys are making 50,000 a year, 60,000 a year. If you're making that and you're living like a broke college student, saving your money, being smart, you, you don't need to go into the fucking UFC. You can actually just get a normal job after that if you save that money correctly, especially if you're there on a scholarship or something. It just like, which ultimately this is good for the people, good for humans, good for our future children if they get into this uh, wrestling, not combat sports. Dear God, no. Um, there's more options there. They're making a livable wage. They're making the money that they well deserve. It was crazy that these guys couldn't get money before. But as we all know, the UFC are some greedy bastards, and they're not paying the people, the fighters, what they should be paid. 12K to show like what the fuck is that? Severe brain damage, gashes on your fucking forehead that are an inch in diameter for a chance at $24,000. What? That's fucking insane. Um, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. With these college athletes getting paid, and honestly, with the introduction of entertainment wrestling, like RAF, which is a very good card this upcoming weekend that I'll kind of get to talking about. It, it's gonna kill the American recruiting cycle for MMA. Foreign countries, we have a infinite flow of these guys. Combat sports is a lot more respected and a lot more normalized and on a global scale. Yeah, it's not the biggest thing in the world everywhere, uh, like the way some people like to say, but it's a lot more normalized over there. That over there, outside of America, pretty much. That's what I'm getting at. Uh, Obviously we know there's a big heavyweight issue. That's because if you're a big heavyweight and you're athletic, you're probably doing something else for good money. At least in America, you're sure as hell going to take a practice squad spot for what a six good solid six figures for light brain damage versus fucking up your face and brain and hands and bones and everything for what, right? Anyways, I'm kind of repeating myself here. You guys get the point. Yada yada yada. UFC needs to raise their pay and pay people more. Cormier even came out actually and kind of talked about how fighters are restructuring and they're getting more than they ever have before. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I feel like the numbers are going to come out and they're not going to be that much better compared to the deal they signed. But whatever, man. I'm not a fighter, so that's not really my business either way. But as I mentioned, there's been some interesting things going on with wrestling. RAF, Real American Freestyle Wrestling. I know it via Chael. Chael's mentioned it, but it's actually looking pretty good. There's a new card this weekend with Colby Covington versus Luke Rockhold. You have Henry Cejudo versus Uriah Faber. And shit, you know what? I'm just gonna pull it up. Actually, I'm gonna pull up the card. There's some good. It is Yo is I think Yoel and Bo might be on that one too. I could be wrong on that. Um, but the point is, I feel like we're in a really good time for just kind of combat sports in general. I know a lot of people say like we've been in a drought. Obviously, right now we are in a drought. There's been no cards or anything. But I know people like to say that things have been boring the last few months. But I've always been like a big disagreeer on that. People really like to jump to the worst case scenario. Like, yeah, there's a slump here and there, but you got to give things time to cook. You got to give things time to sprout and grow. And this is one of those things. I've always been a fan of these little grappling side quests that the UFC will let their fighters go on and do, and I was a big fan of Chael Submission Underground, although it didn't get to the point where I thought it would. This RAF, that's getting to the point where I think it will. You could get these funky ass matchups that you would normally never see, like Armand versus Shara Bullet. What the hell? Um, but just things like that to keep fighters busy, keep their names in the news and the headlines, like the way Armand's doing. He hasn't fought in how long? Well, I guess he just fought Hooker, but before that, he hadn't fought in how long? Yet it felt like we kept seeing his name everywhere, and that's because he kept himself busy and kept himself out there. And honestly, in my opinion, it builds more anticipation. You see them grapple, you see them go ham, and it makes you wonder, man. I wonder how fun this would be if these guys could actually punch and kick each other. And oh wait, we can see that. Maybe not the second, but we can see that. That is this guy's main sport. So I am very excited uh, for the evolution of these things. It's unfortunate that RAF is on fucking Fox Nation or whatever. I'm not. I will buy that. Whatever. I mean, I'm talking about it now. I don't know. Anyways, I'm trying to get. I want to support it. That's why I want to bring it up to you guys. Hopefully, you guys will support it as well because uh, I just like these things. I want to see these guys do more side quests like that. I like seeing these guys compete against each other, especially when you get, like I said, funky matchups. Um, who knows? We get Cejudo versus like O'Malley or something in the grappling. Just fun stuff like that. It's cool. I hope we see more of it. Anyways, I feel like I've kind of yapped enough. If you're just joining in, please make sure to subscribe. Check down below. As you can see, I'm going to do $100 giveaway once I hit 100 subscribers. I set a very long limit. That's about 3 months, 4 months. So I would hope I hit 100 subscribers by then. But if you're watching and you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Um, anyways, I am going to now get into, I would say phone calls, but realistically, let me check. Yeah, nobody's calling in right now. Um, so I'm going to be looking at some crazy Reddit takes that I've kind of gathered up. It's not too many, and if we run out, I'll search for more, and I can definitely yap some more. But I want to go ahead and bring these up. So we're going to go ahead and look into these Reddit takes. Um, this is a singular comment reply I got on my Reddit post. Luckily, somebody else made another post, and we have a good amount of takes on there. But I'm going to go ahead and cover this one. This is by Ishihara's Bitch. We are all one. Hot take: MMA judging being bad is actually what you want, and you just don't realize it. That's actually a pretty good hot take. I am going to upvote that. It looks like somebody else upvoted that. That's a good shout. And I actually do agree with it. Um, this is obviously getting into the nuance of the spectacle and selling and marketing and how important that really is. Uh, a lot of Chael has been beating the drum on this for a long time. Uh, that this is a spectacle, right? If as he says, if you don't know what we're doing here, then right, it's all about selling it, making it entertaining, and right, there's a good argument. It's more spectacle than sport, and I would say it is. That's how they make their money. Uh, Well, I don't know anymore since it's not pay per view, but I do agree with this because when something like I love it when Twitter or X or whatever blows up because of a bad call or anything like that. I love that shit. There's nothing better than that, right? They 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 announce a 20 or 28, 27, or I don't fucking know, some crazy card, and then you see the fighter's face like what, and it just creates such a visceral reaction in you. um that's just a part of the sport. Like it really does bring out emotion that that every other sport can relate to. Did you see Michael Chandler wanting to fight Conor at the White House? Yeah, actually, I talked about that not too long ago. I did see that. I know I'm kind of like dumb for saying it, but I actually think it might happen. And the only reason I think that is not because Michael Chandler is saying it, because I'm sure Michael Chandler believes whatever the fuck they tell him. But just because I feel like if Connor, it's kind of the same thing with John Jones. I feel like if he's gonna come back, it's got to be at the White House. If it's not at the White House, then what's enough? Right? Exactly. Money talks. And what was I saw a headline as well that the Trump family promised to donate 20 million to McGregor's MMA Inc. or something. I was actually wondering, I wonder if that has something to do with him coming to the White House as well. Like, was that an off the books thing? You know what I mean? Um, so because of all those things kind of combined, I do think the White House like will happen, and I do think he's gonna pick Michael Chandler because Chandler is a great matchup for him. Chandler is chinny, he is washed, and he loves to get hit by left hands. It just so happens McGregor has a good left hand. So I don't know. I fully see all of this leading to a McGregor first round KO, sitting on top of the cage, and then announcing his presidential run for Ireland. That's what I see happening there. What about you? What about you? What do you think? You think McGregor actually does it, or you think his broken pinky toe stops him? Drink my water here. Anyways, about this MMA judging being bad, and that's what we want. I mean, obviously, I like the spectacle of it. I like the uproar online. I think it's fun to argue with people, but I don't like it when it happens to fighters that I enjoy, that I want to win. Um, it is an issue. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe just having judges do interviews and stuff, but then obviously that opens the door to further corruption. I'm not going to say corruption because obviously this shit is corrupted as is, but further corruption once you add in public pressure and things like that. So I don't know. I judging is fine as is. I'm not sure what the solution is, so I can't really complain too much about it. All right, so that is the only guy that responded to me on my Reddit. Luckily, somebody else made another post, um, which was removed by the moderator because Reddit's a little, how do you say, mm, gay, right? Nothing wrong with that, but Reddit, a lot of lame rules, but it was asking for the hottest takes and uh, yeah, so we're gonna read some of these. So by aromatic underscore ad 32, he said, I like Ian Gary. I like Ian Gary as well. Unfortunately, that is a very hot take, but I'm a big Ian Gary fan. I think he's cool. I think he's all right. Uh, yeah, he ain't too shabby in my books. Um, shoot, yeah, he ain't too shabby in my books. Uh, there's actually a photo. I hope I don't get fucking flagged for this, but I found this photo a while ago of Ian Gary. Like you know what? Let me close that out before I get banned. That shit makes me laugh. Like really, that is hilarious because every time I saw him do that pose, like that press against the cage, I envisioned something like that. So for somebody else to make that photo and for me to find it, it was just fate. But anyways, so let's move on to the next one by System DNB. The term casual is the lamest thing that could ever leave your mouth in an MMA related conversation. It means you have zero to contribute. Um, I mean, I guess like obviously if you use it as like a dismissive term, you're arguing with somebody, they bring up a good point, and you're just that's a casual. You're a casual. Yeah, that's a little obnoxious. It's a little cringe. But I mean, there are casuals out there. I mean, have you fucking gone on TikTok? Have you seen TikTok before? There are absolutely casuals out there, and sometimes you got to let them know. Sometimes you got to let them know they're casual. But overall, I guess I do kind of agree to your general point there. So we'll go ahead and move on from here. Viltrumite 66 swoon. Tito Ortiz and Jenna Jameson were actually legally wed, and I'm prepared to die on this hill. And you're a fucking punk dude. That was a nasty line by you. Yeah, all right. That's obviously a little shit post right there. That's good though. Good old chain line there. Boss of Avernus. Ilya slimes Armin in the first rounds. Ooh. Um main event for heavyweights at the White House. Man, I'm not 100% sure. I would honestly, I think it would John or Pereira or Tom and Surreal. I can't really think of any other heavyweight fight that's big enough to justify that. Maybe like John or Tom, but I don't think we're gonna see John or Tom. I don't think that ever happens. The only way that happens if Tom takes severe damage in a fight against Surreal Gone, and John walks through Pereira. That's the only way that happens. Um, but yeah, by the sounds of it, the UFC they don't want John Jones to fight at the White House. Dana said it several times. He's accepted John's apology. He's forgave him for the ducking Tom Aspinall, turning down 30 fucking million to fight Tom Aspinall. A lot of high level boxers make less than that. They make like 10 to 20. Uh, So for John to for any MMA fighter to even get close to that kind of money um is ridiculous. And the fact that he turned it down is even more ridiculous. And the fact that he turned it down against Tom Aspinall, which after I'm kind of getting off point here, off your question, but after seeing Tom and Gon fight, John would have smoked Tom. Now, I don't know about now that Tom's felt it a little bit, but I think John could have had Tom a little shook if they were to fight. And I'm sure he regrets it now. And that's why he wants to make it up at the White House. But Dana's been pretty open. He doesn't want John there. And Pereira seemed pretty open about it too. He doesn't want the White House if it's not John. But I bet he would take it if it were Aspinall. But again, I personally I would love that fight, but I would much rather see the resolution to Gon and Aspinall. Gon was winning that first round. Tom is going to heel or whatever. Evil Tom Aspinall, I don't know. I do want to see the resolution to that fight first because I don't know. I don't know if Tom beats a surreal Gon. Honestly, I really don't. And now I don't even know if he beats a Pereira because I don't know. He couldn't take Gon down. Yeah, he had a couple fingies in the eyes. Whatever. That's nothing. I'm joking, obviously, but it was a bad visual. That's hard to forget the feeling. Shoot, you know what? I think my YouTube video turned off. Let me turn my YouTube video. My music. All right. Um, as for Ilias sliming Armin in the first rounds, his take by Boss of Avernus, I actually kind of do agree with that. I know Arman's like really good. I um I think Ilya's a lot better. Honestly, I don't really see a world where Arman can beat Ilya. That might be a hot take in of itself. He is a number one contender for Ilya, aside from Patty the Batty. But I think Patty beats Ilya, but that's a take for another day. Um, Arman just gets hit right, and Patty kind of said it. Dan Hooker got Arman down and almost caught him in a guillotine or whatever. And if Dan Hooker can do that, Ilya can do that. Patty can do that. Um, I do think Arman gets hit. Arman gets hit, and I do think Ilya would be able to land that shot early on. Arman does have a solid chin, but we've seen Ilya put solid chin guys away before. That hasn't stopped him before. So I could totally see Ilya sliming out Arman in the first couple rounds for sure. Oh shoot! What the hell just happened? Okay, back to where we were. Right, Sneezy 6510. Izzy versus Cannoneer is a striking masterclass in entertaining. Striking masterclass, yes. Entertaining, no. I mean, that was just a boring fight to watch, and like that's an issue. A lot of people have in the MMA community. When they hear the word boring, they automatically conflate it with bad. That doesn't mean it was bad at all. Izzy dominated Cannonier. Cannonier looked terrible in there, and he was just piecing him up. He was styling on him, kind of. It was just boring. Like there was no uh, there's no anticipation or guessing what would happen in the next moment. We knew what would happen. There was no real genuine threat for Adesanya there. And that was a big issue towards the end of his run. A lot of people were turning on Adesanya, calling him boring. If any of you remember that, maybe some of you were the ones calling him boring because he was just so comfortably beating his people, his opponents, and people were saying he was just kind of coasting, which that's what happens when you're so dominant so long using the same style. And this Cannonier fight was really no different in my opinion. Adesanya was dominating, and there was just no real threat or answer from Cannonier, so it was pretty boring. I wouldn't call that entertaining, but I guess I could see why some true striking fans would find that entertaining. But I'm a fight fan. I like the highs and the lows. I like being at the edge of my seat, wondering what's going to happen next. That just that wasn't that. That Izzy Kinnear wasn't that. So I disagree with that one. Oh wow, here we go. We got two hot takes here. Lying underscore hips. Prime Izzy is a greater middleweight champion than Prime Silva. I mean, don't no disrespect, but I don't hold any of Silva's opponents as highly as Whitaker and Izzy. Beat him twice. Izzy avenged his loss against Alex in the rematch in the most iconic way possible, while Silva lost to Weidman back to back. I agree with this one actually. I could be new gen biased or whatever. Um, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes down to I think the competition now is better than what it was back then. Weidman was legit and all that, but Silva for being as the GOAT, the greatest middleweight champion, he shouldn't have lost to Weidman those two times. Um, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, that is pretty crazy actually. Um, yeah, I mean, this comment really kind of says all my points. I rate the Pereira win in the rematch above uh, a lot of Silva's wins, and yeah, I rate Whitaker at the time a lot better than a lot of those people there as well. Now, we have another hot take here by DCR for the Homie 89. Whitaker is absolutely overrated. That's my hot take, I guess. Sean Strickland actually kind of spoke up about this recently. Strickland dropped a nasty, nasty line on Robert Whitaker. He said Robert Whitaker is like that girl at the party that everybody's fucked. Maybe if it's 3 a.m. and there's nobody else left, I'll give it a go. Nasty line by Strickland. And the reason it's so nasty is because it's fucking true. It feels like everybody's ran through Whitaker at this point. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it used to be he beat Whitaker. Now it's and he beat Whitaker. Right? Who fucking hasn't beat Whitaker at this point, right? RDR beat Whitaker for Christ's sake. Um, not to say RDR is bad or anything, but like, come on, right? Whitaker's the Reaper. The way people really hype him up to be or how he was. He wouldn't have lost to RDR in the way he did. Anyways, oh, I have an alarm going off. Anyways, uh, Whitaker now, like especially really looking back on it, I this is gonna be so crazy. I would be like, I'm gonna be crucified if this gets clipped off, but he really wasn't all that in the first place. He had a nice little 1-2 head kick, 1-2 head kick, and if that combo doesn't land, he's fucking cooked. He had a good fight against Costa. That was probably like the last vintage version of him I feel like we may have seen. And even then, Costa wobbled his ass. He always gets cracked and wobbled with something. Yeah, he's one of the best, but I can see how people would come to the conclusion that he's overrated, especially when you look at the latter half of his career. It does feel like that he doesn't have much variety in his attacks. It seems that if you could shut him down one way, he'll be shut down for the whole fight. And yeah, I pray that he doesn't get his Pereira fight that he's mentioned slash asked for because he will break his jaw again. and none of us wants to see that, right? Whitaker is a well liked guy. I like him. I don't want to see that. So good takes right there. We'll move on from that. Just underscore some underscore guy 2007. Wow. I wonder if he was born in 2007. How old will that make him? 19? Jeez. That's crazy in of itself. Anyways, prime Yoel Romero beats Hamzat Chimaev and everybody else too. Uh, I disagree with that. I disagree with that. I feel a little odd about Hamzat because I really like him. I do think he's probably the greatest middleweight right now. At least I don't think anybody can beat him. I don't know why people think fucking Imavov is gonna beat him. It kind of reminds me of when people were gassing up Beneil Dariush to be Islam fucking Makhachev. If you, I'm sorry, if you ever said that Beneil Dariush was gonna beat Islam Makhachev, because there were a lot of people. I don't want everybody to be like, who was saying that? A lot of you were saying that. I need some justification. What the fuck were you thinking? Like, what made you think he was gonna be? Anyways, I digress. That's the vibe. That's the vibe I'm kind of getting from this. I don't think Imavov even like would have a chance against Hamza. Yeah, he's well rounded, has some nice hands, but like uh, he couldn't get Kyle Barrayo out of there. Who and Kyle's good, but Kyle's like frozen. He wasn't really moving. Imavov was fighting at that pace. Hamzat's gonna fight at a way quicker pace. I think Hamza will melt him. So I don't know how I got to that point, but the way I feel about Hamza is I think he's the best. Yeah, like I said, right now, but I find it really hard to like him for a whole lot of reasons. Number one, I don't think he's like scary or whatever. I think this is a cultural difference, honestly. But like where he does the look down, that's not scary, like, to me. Like, I'll see edits, like, it's scary, creepy smile. That looks silly. That looks goofy to me. And yeah, like, I know, well, you wouldn't say that to his face. Yeah, I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. But like when I watch edits like that, it makes me cringe. So it makes it hard to be a fan that way. On top of that too, I smash everybody, I kill everybody. I don't get it. That doesn't do it for me. Again, I know I get it. It does it for some people. It just doesn't do it for me. Another thing too is he doesn't fight that fucking often anymore. I know he used to, which back then he was fucking awesome. It was a legend. He was the wolf, right? I kill everybody. Yeah, like maybe then it fit, but now he fights once, twice a year, and then he does all that. I kill everybody, but it's come on, man. Like, I don't know. Uh, it's hard, and I'm not even like this has nothing to do with his performance against DDP. I really do hold a lot of that more against DDP than him. Like, if you give him an easy shot to win the belt, oh fuck yeah, you're gonna take it, right? So I can't blame Hamzat for that fully. Uh, but I it wasn't exciting. Obviously, left a poor taste in my mouth, and combine that with the other things I just said. Uh, it's hard for me to be a hardcore Hamza supporter. But with that being said, I think he would beat Yoel Romero. We haven't really seen enough of Hamzat, in my opinion, to confidently say how he'd be against a guy like Yoel. 170 Hamzat against a Gilbert Burns, I do think that was a fluke to a degree. As much as I love that fight and as much as I wanted Gilbert Burns to win it, if Hamzat wasn't cutting so much weight, that those punches probably wouldn't have hurt as bad. And that was like the first time he faced real adversity, so he probably panicked a little bit, and he handled it well. Uh, so, and especially considering his performances after the fact, it's hard to say. It's hard not to say that it wasn't a fluke. So, yeah, I don't think Yoel beats Hamzat or the other fighters of the time. Oops, what did I do now? Where is it? All right, now we're moving on to dog underscore 1995. Usman's title reign was overrated. Lapping the division was a fucking lie since he was fighting the same guys, i.e., Colby and Jorge, neither of which deserved a rematch. Um, you could say his title reign was overrated specifically. That I kind of understand, but I feel like to say his I feel like to say his career is overrated isn't fair because he went on a solid run, like on the come up. What was it already? You know what? Here, let me look it up now. Actually, we're not doing Tapology. I'm UFC fight stats, and I've always been UFC stats over here. So after this whole Tapology debacle, don't come switching sides. Stay on that side. But let me see here. Let me see here. I would. Yeah, let me see here. Kamaru Usman. Okay, I guess the website is down or whatever because it is not loading up for me. There we go. There we go. Fighters. Look up Usman. Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian Nightmare. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can maybe say his title run was overrated, but yeah, it's kind of I feel like it's kind of hard to say his run is overrated altogether because he beat. Let's see, yeah, it was the you could argue the ghost of Damian Maya, but he did beat a younger Sean Strickland, uh, Sergio Moraes. I feel like that's solid. Emil Meek, that's but he did beat RDA back in what year was it, 2018? Yeah, he beat a 2019 Tyron Woodley for the belt. Where obviously he beat Covington in a legendary classic fight. Not beat Masvidal in a classic fight as well. I feel like the short notice one. Burns. Then he knocked out Masvidal. Then he beat Colby again, and then this is when his skid happens. He lost to Leon, lost to Leon again, lost to Hamzat, and then won against Buckley. I it's kind of crazy though to look at that he fought Hamza October 21st, 2023, and then fought Buckley damn near 2 years later on June 14th, 2025. That's a little fucking crazy to me. Um, and it's just a little wild to yeah, it's a little wild to see him take 2 years off. It didn't feel that long because he did a good job keeping himself in the news with his headlines and stuff. So I'm not I guess I'm not too mad at it. But yeah, to call his I don't think it's fair to call his title run uh BS because he went through, if you count winning the belt, one, two, three, four different opponents, um, until he got fluke KO'd by Leon Edwards. He was on the way to making it five different opponents. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. I think I think he deserves the praise. Yeah, looking back on it, with Dana calling him the greatest welterweight of all time, I wouldn't say all that, but there really is a serious case there. I mean, at least there was until the skid he went on, and who knows if Leon doesn't land that fluke kick, um, who knows the run he could have still been going on. So I disagree with the take that his title run is overrated. Maybe his title run, but his even then I disagree, but his career is pretty solid. So yeah, see, a lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people do. Like I agree, it wasn't anything like crazy, anything record breaking, but it was a solid run. The closest we've seen to a guy doing that these days is Marab. I mean, nobody really goes on runs like that anymore. So to shit on it like that is a very very unfair in my opinion. Um, yeah, this one I actually downloaded. I should maybe take that off so I don't get canceled. Uh, I don't understand Khabib being downplayed as an all-time great when people turn on you and call you wash when you fight years past your prime anyways. Like Izzy, he showed what he's capable of at his absolute peak and had no need to give himself more unnecessary brain damage and start losing so everyone could say Khabib was never that good anyways. This is a fucking god-awful take by Ida Matika. Yeah, I mean, unfair underscore volume 5853 hits it nail on the head here. Khabib is much more glazed than he is downplayed. Anytime anyone here mentions the factual records, he gets downvoted. most reasonable people view him correctly and don't unfairly downplay him or unfairly glaze him. I do think it was the greatest 155er of his time, but yeah, no shit. When you look at it, no shit, he would be able to beat the people he beat considering their skill sets. Uh, I think Islam Makhachev is objectively better, and I do hold him a lot higher, especially since he won a second belt. But Khabib's legit. Khabib's legit. I don't agree with people saying he's like fraud or whatever. He's undefeated, right? Who cares if he fucking stat padded that by fighting a bunch of cans? He's undefeated. So it's really hard to argue against that. Nothing can beat that, especially I hate to say it, the casual, especially once you get to the casual mind, it's really hard to beat the undefeated record. That is 0. So let's move on to Yo Yo Yo. Who is this? Top 1% commenter on this Reddit r/UFC. Amanda Nunes saw that she was negative 800 favorite to win the fight against Pena. She took her life savings, all career earnings, bet on herself losing, and then threw the fight. Seeing the fashion, how she lost, and how easily she won later, combined with how little UFC fighters make, I am 100% convinced she did it on purpose. Maybe. Maybe. Now, I do think I kind of alluded to this in my episode 0, but I do somewhat think that I think more fight betting scandals will come out this year in 2026. I don't have I'm some random fucking guy. Okay, I don't have any insider knowledge, any insider info. I'm not Ariel fucking Helwani or Daniel Cormier or Chael Sonnen leaking some fighter info. Okay, that ain't me. But I just have the feeling that some insider betting will further come out. It just seems like a no-brainer, especially when you consider the Bulgarian thing. If you just for example, you can make 24,000 to win the fight, risk brain damage, all that, or have somebody place a bet for you, and you can make 50,000 to get quote unquote KO'd in the first round. Nobody has to know, just you and your bookie, maybe your coach. But even then, just keep it between you two. I think more things like that will happen, and I think more dumb people will try it. And because more dumb people will try it, more people will get caught. So I I get to say Nunez did that against Pena. I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I disagree with that because right, she did have COVID and all that, and whatever you think of it, I don't give a fuck. It got some people sick, believe it or not. It made some people weaker. I know people that weren't vaccinated, and some people that were that got affected pretty heavily by it. So, uh, for her to come off a layoff and with COVID, there is some any sickness for that matter. There is some legitimacy, some credency to the idea that she just wasn't 100%. She was operating at like 50% capacity, and it showed that she mentally couldn't do it. Maybe her lungs weren't there all the way. She couldn't breathe well, or her cardio wasn't there. That's what I'm getting at. Um, that could explain that performance. There's a few other theories as well that I will not get into, but it's possible. It's possible. I wouldn't hold anything like this against any of the fighters, but I would like to think Amanda isn't dumb enough to do something that blatant, right? But yeah, I would say she doesn't need the money, but she obviously needs the money. She's fucking coming back out of retirement, so you never know. You never know. They're probably not paying her enough anyways. So that one, I'll go ahead and say no. I disagree with that. But if that were to come out in the inevitable UFC The Dark Side of the Octagon documentary, I wouldn't be too surprised. All right, let's move on to the next one. Only Stands with a Z. That posts like these deserve a ban. Only thing worse than a Reddit mod, a wannabe one That is beautiful by OK Cartographer 175. Absolutely beautiful. I agree. Reddit mods suck. Reddit is full of nerds that love enforcing lame rules that ruin the fun for everybody. But I can't shit on it too much, can I? Because I'm the one here. Um, I'm the one here watching it. So, all right, let's go ahead and cover this case. Bjormir, I like the core of DC, Joe, and John Anik. I agree with that. A lot of people are shitting on him, but I uh, I actually agree with it too. I call me new gen or whatever, but I like it. I think it's nostalgic almost. It's just there is a certain charm to it. They have a fun chemistry. I like their chemistry. It is insufferable at a lot of the time, but the good moments are good, and I'm okay with that. It's part of the viewing experience of the UFC, and we will absolutely, absolutely miss them when they are gone. So I appreciate them while they're here. Goldie's all right. That's my hottest take right there. I don't think Goldie's all that. Stitch Duran and I were never friends, but okay. That's me. Bet reach advantage. Okay, is that the hot take to always bet reach advantage? I thought that doesn't work. Um, shit, I'm pretty sure I read something like the stats on if you always bet reach advantage is like low compared to if you do. I don't fully remember. Max is an ugly mofo. Damn. I enjoyed watching Yoel and Israel's fight. That's valid because like it felt like they could have blown at any moment. So I respect that. I respect that fully. Medium dash theme dash 4611. Worth it all 99. I actually like most UFC commentators, including Bisping. Me too. Um, I'm actually a big fan of Bisping. I can't lie. I like it when him and DC are on the broadcast together because it seems like they're gonna fucking fight. Like every time they do anything together, it just seems like they're like one. They're like, like it just seems like they really want to attack each other, and I love that shit, man. I love it because that builds some real anticipation. Um, who was it? Recently, Bisping was like, "Let me speak" or some shit like that. Uh, yeah, so DC is pretty domineering like that as well. It seems at times. So uh, when those two match up, it's fun, and I think that's why they don't put them together too often because they know inevitably one day we'll be watching a fight and we'll just hear whoa whoa whoa. We'll hear John whoa 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 whoa, and they'll be fighting or some shit like that. So let's move on. Realistic room underscore 562. Holy shit! This guy has a lot of takes. It's 2026 and you are now legally allowed to tell someone to shut the fuck up if they bring up Zabit. I agree with that. Hallelujah on that one. The MMA's biggest what if. What if you shut the fuck up about it? That's what I think. Anyways, let's read all these takes. This is probably going to be these will probably be the last takes. Let me check to see if anybody's calling in. Of course not. Maybe next week. Uh, but these are probably going to be the last takes that I read, and then I'll ramble a little bit more, and we'll probably wrap it up. Keep it a nice short episode. So let me go ahead and start with this. Aljo would have got his title back if he got the rematch with Suge. Yes, I fully agree with that. Um, I do think that it was kind of a fluke punch. Now there is an argument that Sean O'Malley is just a bad matchup for Aljo because Aljo does kind of run in with his chin out often, and Sean's a sharpshooter. He's good. He's good. As much as people like to hate him, he's very, very fucking good, and he beat Peter Yan legitimately, whether you like it or not. He did. It was a close enough fight that the judges gave it to him. It wasn't a pure disgusting robbery like a lot of people make it out to be. That being said, though, I think if Aljo wasn't rushed in and he had a proper game plan, was mentally good and all that, I think he would have easily wrapped up Sean and taken his back. Because I think all he had to do was get him down on the ground once or get on his back once, and I bet he would have gotten the submission. Especially seeing how easily Marab did it once he got Sean to the ground in their second fight. And that was a Sean that really grinded the wrestling and grappling training. So a Sean back then, I'm sure Aljo could have had his way with them. So I agree with that. Sean Brady is America's best chance right now at a champion. Did you see his last fight? Did you see his last fucking fight? Guys, let me look up American UFC champions. Let's see. Or shoot, let's take out champions. American UFC fighters. Current. Let's see. Is there even a men 2000? Is there not a filter? Is there not like an American filter? Yeah, filter. Here we go. As the United States, would it be you? Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Per the UFC's website, no fucking way. There's gotta be more than that. Oh yeah, okay. Tank app. Why is he still on there? Yeah, Hamdi is. Why is he still on here too? I thought he got cut. Um, yeah, no. You know what? That might not be a bad shout. I guess it really is Sean Brady. But that kind of goes to my point that I was saying earlier. With the introduction of the NCAA payout thing, um, it has absolutely slaughtered American MMA. American MMA was already kind of dying. Uh, because again, if you're a good fighter and you want the money, if you're big enough, you're just gonna do other sports. If you're a wrestler, you're probably gonna stay and rack up your money in college. Uh, if you're not a wrestler, you're probably gonna try to get into boxing because that's where people think the money is. And to be fair, if you get to the high level, that is where it's at. Uh, I'm trying to think what other American fucking champion or what other American prospects exist other than Sean Brady. I disagree with Sean Brady. It can't be Sean Brady. He doesn't have the striking to do it. He just doesn't. Um, as unfortunate as it is, because I'm a pretty big Sean Brady fan. But like yeah, he ain't it. He ain't it. Maybe Bo Nickel. I would say Bo Nickel. Honestly, I disagree with that. Yeah, I would say Bo Nickel. Yeah, he just lost to RDR, but yeah, he's a 30-year-old prospect, but he's still pretty green. I think him losing to RDR like that in that fashion will turn out to be one of the best things for him because that means he knows what it's like to lose. He knows what it's like to be finished. Um, and he just felt things he never felt before. So and that's why he came out a lot better against was it Vieira that he knocked out with a head kick. Um, get a head kick there. So I would say Bo Nickel because at 185, yeah, it's Hamzat, but who knows how many more fights Hamzat has in him for being real. Um, give Bo a few years. If he could wait out Hamzat, he could probably slot in there as the next champion, honestly, because I don't see Hamzat losing his belt. Next take here. Nate Diaz is an average fighter that had enough charisma to convince us otherwise, but he really is a 82 overall when it comes down to it. Is that even a hot take? Is that a hot take? I feel like that's kind of just facts. I mean, uh, Funky kind of came out. Ben Askren came out and said something like that, very similar recently as well. It's absolutely true. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean Nate has his moments, and yeah, he beat a prime McGregor and all that, but you could argue that was him overperforming and McGregor underperforming. Nate was never really that elite fighter that we're come to expect, especially in this modern day and age. And actually, some of my casual friends, true casuals, they don't watch MMA like really at all, just the big names, the headlines, and all that. He tuned in to watch Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz because these are big names and all that. Um, and he was disappointed. He told me like, dude, I thought Nate was like a goat, and I was like, fuck no. So not even close to goat talk. What the hell? And I was like, huh? I always saw, and I told him, I said, man, that's a sport, bro. Like that's the point. He got like they got you. That's what they want you to think. Um, and it just blew his mind that was a whole that was even a factor in a sport as big as MMA. Like, why would they be a main event like that? But anyways, yeah, that's kind of facts. Next one, Francis Ngannou is kind of a dick and low key the first of many reasons the heavyweight division sucks now. I can kind of agree with that. Ngannou does seem like selfish to a degree. Now, for being real, a lot of people were supporting him. The fighter union thing, yeah, blah blah blah. He doesn't give a fuck about a fighter union, right? I don't give a fuck about a fighter union. You probably don't either if you're really looking deep into yourself and asking. It doesn't affect us either way. We just want to see the fighters fight, and to see them fight, we they need to get good money and stuff like that. So that's why I supported it at least. But that's all bullshit. Like I said, I feel like Ngannou doesn't really care about that. He was just trying to negotiate for himself, and once he realized that wasn't going to happen, he needed to raise his public perception, uh, his value, so to speak, for any future investors, and it worked out for him with PFL, obviously. So I do agree in that sense. Like he probably is a little bit of a dick. Maybe that recent Ariel interview kind of came off that way as well. Um, but I after everything he's been through, especially lately, losing his son and going through the thing with the accident and the motorcycle and taking the life of somebody, whether by accident or not, that does damage to somebody, right? I would imagine. So I don't think it was fair. People were judging him for that recent interview he did with Ariel. Like he's probably just fucking done with everything. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the guy. I'm not gonna sit here and speculate on whether he's a good person or not. Yeah, I don't think I ever will know, right? Although, Ngannou, if you're watching this, I would love to have a beer with you or something. That'd be cool. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if you're a cage fighter, let alone the baddest man on the planet, yeah, you're probably a little bit of a dick. I mean, I don't expect these guys to be angels, right? Uh, anyways, he is also one of the first of many reasons the heavyweight division sucks now. Yes, I do agree with that. And I don't blame him for that, but he is objectively a reason as to why it sucks now. Um, he left. He left. He rightfully left. If I were him, I would have left as well. He left. He won. He won. He got the money he wanted. He got the clout he wanted. He won. But him leaving did like kind of leave a hole that is still needing to be filled, in my opinion. Yeah, the UFC has pretty much moved on and all that, but an Ngannou Jones fight would have fed generations. An Ngannou Aspinall fight would have fed generations. Um, some really good fights there that unfortunately we will never see. So I guess I agree with that, but like not in a malicious way. It is his fault, or he is one of the main reasons, but it's not necessarily his fault, I should say. Jamal Hill would be more successful in heavyweight. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. He has a solid chin, and as long as Yuri didn't crack it for good, um, I think Jamal, or was it Khalil he fought last? Whoever. I think Jamal would be pretty solid up there. I know people are clowning on him for it. Yeah, he's not going to beat fucking Aspinall or anyone, but he'd be solid up there. And I got to defend Hill. I'm a big Hill fan, believe it or not. He was, to quote Rogan, people forget, man. He was solid before his Achilles injury. He had a level of athleticism that really made up for the sloppiness we see in his technique now, and he just doesn't have that pop anymore. If you go back and watch his fights before that injury, he was a lot quicker. He had a lot more pep in his step, and I think he would have done a lot better against Year. I think he would have done a lot better against Pereira, even Khalil, all of these guys. He's just not the same fighter anymore, and that's just the reality. I think that's why he's so bitter all the time. Honestly, I think he knows that deep down, and that's why he has such a delusional dare I say, like I'll beat this guy. I would have beat this guy because him before the injury was fucking solid, and we didn't get to see that version of Jamal pushed to his limit yet. So I think that's a big what if. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but that's the real one of MMA's biggest what if. Fuck is a beat. What if Jamal Hill never played that basketball game? That's the real fucking MMA what if. Okay, so I agree with that. That he'll be more successful at heavyweight. The Paramount deal is going to do what Netflix did to the UFC. Or wait, the Paramount deal is going to do to the UFC what Netflix did to the WWE. It's going to be less about fighters, more about the show slash promotions. Mark my words. I'm not fully sure what that means. Like, UFC 320 or UFC SummerSlam or UFC Noche, like gimmick events like that, maybe. I don't really see that happening because you can't. I don't see that happening because you can't really force the storylines the same way you can in the WWE. For example, this Ilya Islam storyline, right? Uh, that sells the fight, the Ilya v Islam. Let's say you have an event such as the White House event later on, right? Um, you could keep them on ice until you get to that event to have that event, but it's just like one. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like one fight. Whereas with the WWE, they have a bunch of fights leading up to these big events. Um, John Cena will fight several times at Raw on SmackDown before you get to WrestleMania. Uh, it, it's not really the same thing, I would say, because throughout the year, it's always building up to WrestleMania. It's always building up to the Royal Rumble. It's always building up to SummerSlam. This is where we see the resolution of these like year-long storylines. You don't really get that in MMA. Yeah, there are long storylines, but they just kind of happen by coincidence, by chance. Um, you can't really control it the same way you would WWE to where it'll resolve perfectly at a big event. So I disagree with that. There's only so many gimmick events they can do. Uh, so I don't see that happening fully. I do see it benefiting the UFC in the way Netflix did to the WWE by just bringing it to the forefront again. The way WWE has kind of boomed, I do think we will enter like a golden era of MMA or at least UFC and combat sports. I don't know about boxing. If Zuffa really steps up, then possibly. But I I don't know what you mean by it's gonna be about the promotions and shows. I don't agree with that at all. I don't really see how that's just possible in this, day and age. Taporia is a great fighter with a great resume, but his best finishes are guys in the back end of their careers. Um, I guess I can agree with that. I guess I can agree with that. It's hard it is hard to fully agree with it when Volk, beat up on Lopez the way he did, and if Volk does it again, then it's even harder to say that. You could argue that means it was more of a fluke because Volk came back early, but honestly, based off of the way Volk fights, his style, Ilya would have caught him against the cage inevitably. Like, it would have happened regardless. So I think Ilya's win against Volk was legit, and I will say I think there is some weight to the fact that Max cut weight again. I do think there is some validity to that, and that may have slowed him down. But again, Ilya is a good boxer, and Max keeps his hands down. Max is a confident striker that doesn't have solid defense like that. So it's not a big shocker that a pure boxer would have eventually landed a nice power shot on the chin of a Max Holloway. If they were to fight at 155, I'm sure it would be a lot different, but I do think the result would be the same. The fight would maybe be different, but I think the result would ultimately be the same. Max gets hit. He's never been pure defense guy. He's been output guy, and that's dangerous against a guy like Ilya. So I kind of agree with this, but I also don't. Um, the Oliveira one, actually, that's I would say that's like the one that more than the Volk and more than the Max one. I would say him knocking out Oliveira was more indicative of Oliveira's chin being fully gone. I know he always gets hurt, but yeah, but even then though, like I thought Ilya was always gonna knock out Oliveira. That I didn't think there was a world where Oliveira absorbed that shot from Ilya. So it's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Um, we haven't. We need to see Ilya fight Arman or Paddy. We need to see him fight somebody in the prime of their career, and if he puts them out cold, then we know. Then we know the truth. And even then, I just don't think it's too fair to say because, especially with Volk and Max. I mean, just look at their fights afterwards. Max, there's more asterisk. There's more of an asterisk next to it because he moved up. But for Volk, the Volk one was legit because Volk styled on Lopez the next fight after. Justin versus Taporia was most likely next before the divorce drama kicked in. Um, maybe. I mean, honestly, it's really hard to tell. Uh, maybe. I would say no. I feel like they would have gone Patty Ilya if they really could choose Patty Ilya or maybe even Armand Ilya. You see, yeah, they probably would have done Patty Ilya, Armand Gaethje for the number one if Gaethje would have taken it. I just don't think the UFC liked how Gaethje kind of threatened to quit and walk out. I think it just happened. Oh, Ilya's gonna be out. Patty's in. Fuck Armand. Justin's left. That's really what I think happened there. Just kind of a process of elimination. I don't think that was their top choice. I really don't. Next one. Manel Kape would be considered a legendary flyweight if he didn't call out all the time. It is possible, but it's as you said, we wouldn't know because he calls out all the time. So that's really all I have to say on that. We need to see that motherfucker fight more. And once he fights more, uh, he needs to win the belt before we can even consider discussing something like that. Islam probably won't fight Morales purely off the basis of the whole dress thing. Lord knows Team Khabib ain't gonna risk the idea of losing to a guy like that, so they probably won't even give him the chance. That's not a bad shout. I don't know about it wouldn't be because they're scared of losing to him. It's just they wouldn't want to support that in any way. They don't want to platform it, so they wouldn't put him on there. There's some real there's a real chance. There's some real weight to that maybe. Who knows? That's fucking hilarious. And yeah, that is if those two end up in the cage together and if it ends up like a good fight or if somehow Morales fucking does it, that would be the most batshit insane thing of all time. If just a dude named Islam from Dagestan loses to Morales, who we've seen like that. You guys know what I'm referring to. So that'd be fun. I mean I doubt this. I don't think that's the truth, but whatever. Mikey Muscamechi started out as the underdog nerd that was very likable, and now he's just a little Poindexter I'd pay thousands to see get knocked out in MMA. Wow. Okay, yeah, hell yeah. Um, Listen, I used to think the same thing. Okay, I used to think Mikey was just a little Poindexter nerd. And I was like, man, shit, I'm not going because I'm joking, but I watched the interview he did with Ariel, and I gotta say he grew on me. I kind of felt bad. I was like, man, I'm shitting on this guy. I'm shitting on this guy, and he seems like an alright guy. It kind of made me feel bad. I would love to see him fight MMA, but the truth is, a lot of these jujitsu nerds are juiced to the gills. I don't know if Mikey is. He might be. Maybe recovery stuff. You never know. Um, but regardless, he's not getting enough money to ever fight a hardcore in MMA. Not UFC. They will never pay him the money that he wants. I'm sure he's making plenty doing his jujitsu stuff. It'd be like, yeah, I would love to see him in there, take on Peter Yan. That'd be fucking cool, but we're never gonna see that. We're long past the days of the UFC being the ending point for all these legendary martial artists. Yeah, we're long past those days, unfortunately. Dylan Dennis is pretty good. We just hate him because he's an asshole and takes easy fights. You mean easy fight? Just one. But I do agree. Actually, I like Dylan Dennis a lot. He does feel like a classic WWE heel. Especially when he was getting taken out of the UFC event, they're all carrying him out. Like I like him. He does seem like like a real classic like WWE bad boy getting kicked out of everywhere he goes. Everybody fucking hates him. This and that. I hope he continues to take like shitty one-sided fights where he wins against plumbers and stuff. And I hope he flexes around that belt. And if you're not going to join the UFC, fuck them. Talk shit on all their champions, everything like that. I think that's hilarious. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think Dylan Dennis is that bad. I truly don't. I truly, truly don't. So yeah, those are some good takes right there by realistic underscore room underscore 562. That was solid. I like that. I like that. So we're kind of done with the takes there. It looks like nobody called in. That's all right. If you didn't call in this episode and you're watching this on a replay, click the Discord link down below. It's in my description as well as my channel. Follow the instructions on there. Go through the topic and all that. Next Wednesday, if you want to call in and argue with me about something, or you disagree with something I said here and you want to talk about it, go ahead and call in. Go ahead and call in. You never know. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty interesting week. I feel like I'm kind of losing my fucking mind without the fights. It's really boring. Luckily, this weekend, like I said, we have RAF. I said I was gonna pull it up. Actually, you know what? I said I was gonna pull it up. Let me try to find it. RAF card. Let's see. No, what the hell? Real American freestyle. Oh, why is this shit on Bing? What the fuck? Get the fuck off Bing. All right, here we go. Where's their most recent card? Where's their most recent card? Events gallery. Here we go. Here we go. Covington versus Rockhold. Here, oh, let me switch over. Here we go. Yeah, this is fucking solid. This is solid. I listen, I'm not gonna sit here. I know my name, the open mat. I haven't wrestled in a long time. Okay, for a lot of reasons, but it's just not something I can do anymore. Uh, I would be lying if I said I've been super hyper tuned into wrestling as of late. Um, I really rambled about it early on in the show. I am a big fan of events like this, especially when you start mixing in these UFC fighters, especially when they start collabing with these wrestlers and these other guys. Like, it's just fucking awesome, dude. Uh, Mainland, let me get all the way up here. This is a pretty solid one right here. Um, but yeah, Bo Nickel versus Yoel Romero, that is fucking awesome. Colby Covington versus Luke Rockhold, that is fucking awesome. I do know there is a where is it? There's another one. There's Henry Cejudo versus Uriah Faber. Yeah, this one's awesome too. I I'm a big fan of the grappling matches, the side quests these guys do. Uh this is kind of an extension of that in my opinion. Yeah, here we go. We got Michael Chandler. That already happened. I remember that. Yeah, these are just fucking awesome. Uh I really want to tune into this and I want to show you guys it because I hope you guys support it somehow. I want to see more of this stuff. I want to see the fighters stay active. I want to see these fucking funky ass collabs. We can maybe get a Usman or Magomedov versus like a Ilya Topuria in a grappling or something like that. Like the sky's the limit for this, especially if this is already how it's looking for which event is this? Like their number 5, their 5th event, and they're already getting big names like that. This is what Submission Underground should have been, and it's just cool. And who knows? Who knows? This could be a bridge for wrestlers to get into MMA. A lot of people don't consider that. So we need to be supporting all these extra events, all these side promotions like that, because you never know. MMA is going to hit a crucial combat sports altogether. They're about to hit a crucial point in these upcoming years, especially with the Paramount deal signing. UFC is going to set the tone for a lot of things, and it needs new people to come into it, new stars, more anticipation built. And a good way to do it is by doing things like this. And I just can't wait for it. This is this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Maybe I'll do a little video review reacting to it. Who knows? But yeah, that is something I am very excited for. I would say the one I'm most excited for is Nickel versus Yoel Romero. Maybe I'm pretty excited for Colby versus Luke Rockhold. That's pretty solid too. I don't know. All of that's pretty solid. All that's pretty solid. Looks like we've been live for about an hour, 30 minutes. That's about as long as I was really looking to make this video. I feel like it was a good episode. Yeah, we didn't get any subscribers or anything, but that's okay. Luckily, I gave us 112 days to make it. So yeah, again, this is a call-in show normally. We just don't have a lot of viewers, a lot of people that even know that right now. I'm still working on getting the word out. But if you're watching this on a rewatch and you disagreed with anything I said here, let me know. Comment down below. Follow me over on Twitter at Open Mat Show Live. talk shit to me there, or you can call in live next week and talk shit to me that way. There's a lot of ways you could get at me here, and I'm open to it. I love arguing about this shit. I like watching this sport. I'm a big fan, believe it or not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So, if you're watching, I want to thank you. Thanks for tuning in. This is the start of something great. I really do believe in what we're doing here. I'm very, very, very excited for this. And things are gonna keep getting better. Every show we do, things will always get better. Things will consistently get better. And yeah, just thanks for watching. Follow me over on Twitter at OpenMattLive. Um, that's my only social media. I'm working on getting a TikTok, but subscribe here. Like I said, I plan on starting a series where I'm gonna watch every single UFC numbered event, starting from one all the way to where we're at now, and upload a review of it. So tune in for that if that's something you're interested in. I do occasional gaming streams on here. I might have a second channel for that. I don't know, but I do occasional gaming streams. So subscribe for that. I don't know. I might put that on another channel altogether. But yeah, subscribe, turn on notifications bell. Thanks for tuning in. Comment down below any tips, any things you want me to change about the show, any segments, any hot takes, anything. Um, it all goes a very, very long way here. Every single view, every single like, every single click. We're a small channel. It goes a long way, and we appreciate every single one of you. And really, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm really kind of rambling over myself here. I'm still getting used to closing these out. But yeah, I'm very excited for the future. I will see you guys next week. And yeah, stay frosty. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.